Do you guys want to sing Eagles? Ready? Go.
Fly, Eagles, fly.
Stop biting. Stop biting. Welcome into Scoop City. I'm the athletic senior NFL insider Dianna Russini.
And I'm Chase Daniel, played 14 years in the NFL.
What are you pausing for? You nervous? You worried? Why are you pausing so much?
I just can't take you serious in a hotel room.
Is that what it is? Because I'm sitting.
I didn't.
For those that are just listening, if you're watching, you get what's going on here. But I am sitting on the floor in my hotel room. I'm in Mobile, Alabama at the Senior Bowl.
You're on the floor. That's like creeping me out a little bit.
For those smart people that want to invest in things that listen to the show, because so many people are using their computers and phones for meetings and for shows, some hotel has to come up with like a little studio, a room with a studio. Brilliant, right?
Yeah.
Kind of like how hotels
you're on the road a lot.
like
I feel like you
dog-friendly.
would use it.
Yeah. I should probably.
The Marriott Studio.
Yeah. Sponsored by the Marriott Studio. There you go. Hit us up,
Just
Bonvoy.
saying.
Use those Marriott points. All right, everybody. Welcome into the show. The Super Bowl is set, baby. We've got the Eagles and the Chiefs, a rematch from 2023. Chiefs looking to make history, of course, be the first team to three-peat. We asked Andy Reid about this when we started Scoop City, about this idea of the three-peat, because they were so comfortable and open, right? Talking about it, not afraid.
Yeah.
So here they are. Here we are, just 2 weeks away from them possibly doing this and making history. So we're going to take a look back at some of those things that Andy shared with us and see how much of this is just really playing out, because a lot of it is. Plus the Cowboys, the Jags, the Raiders, the Jets all have new head coaches that were introduced. So a lot of takeaways, some weird quotes, because that's just what comes with these introductory press conferences. No clapping, though. Last show, a lot of you gave me heat for hating on the clapping when the coaches walk into the lobby for the first time. But I think these teams are listening, because I noticed that the Jets, the Raiders, the Jags, and the Cowboys, I mean, I'd be shocked if the Cowboys did not clap. So they just did the traditional hello, welcome in. So either way, hello, welcome into the show. Let's get right to it. Here's what I'm hearing around the league. Chiefs and Bills. All right. So I personally thought it was the better game of the weekend. And
Easily.
You've been saying this since training camp. You have not wavered. You have not stuttered. You have not hesitated, even when we were criticizing some of the offense and even some of the defense at times during the season. Yet you kept doubling down, saying they're going to do it. They're going to win the Super Bowl. They'll figure it out, and they always do. And we saw a version of Patrick Mahomes against the Bills that is true Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs type of play. So I want to really first just get your thoughts after you've had now a good 24 hours to sit and even watch some of this over and over, of just that performance from Patrick Mahomes as the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs in this one.
Well, I think a couple things were true. I thought that Andy Reid had a masterful game plan. And when I say that, there were like 3 or 4 RPO, which is run pass options on the first series of the game, sort of set the tone, didn't let the defensive line for Buffalo get into the backfield and affect Patrick Mahomes. Thought they ran the ball really well, 135 yards rushing for an Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes team. That's a lot. Took some pressure off Patrick. And then Patrick Mahomes, he's never had a 2-touchdown rushing game in his entire career. And oh, by the way, we saw a designed quarterback run for a touchdown with Travis Kelce leading the way. People are going to miss it, but they actually ran that play the series prior, and he handed it off. So he was actually reading it. I went back and saw it, just rewatched the film for the second time right now. But more importantly, forget about the X's and O's. I think that when the game and the season and a career of Josh Allen really is on the line, no one shows up more in these moments than Patrick Mahomes. Like, you look at his first 7 years as a starter, okay? He's reached the Super Bowl 5 of those years. And he's reached the AFC Championship the other 2. He's 5-2 in the AFC Championship. I know it's one of the greatest starts to a career in any sport. And I had people go back and look at like who has won 4 championships and 2 MVPs in all 4 major North American sports. There's like 10 people. In hockey and baseball, you're talking like Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, Wayne Gretzky, like legendary names that this guy has put himself in. It's because he plays his best when his best is needed. It might not look good throughout the season. It might, early in the season, you might throw 11 interceptions. They hadn't turned the ball over, Dianna, until last game in 9 straight games. It was like 501 snaps without a turnover. No one's talking about that. And he had the fumble, he had the miscue, but they were able to overcome it. And man, playing at home is a big deal in this whole situation.
So our colleague and friend Mike Silver was at the game, and his post-game story was really well done. He talked to Matt Nagy just about what Patrick had been like over the weekend. And Matt said, well, why don't I show you a text I sent my wife after the team meeting on Saturday night? And so the text said, Pat's slowly turning into his superhero creature tonight at the hotel as we speak. It's the coolest thing ever. Not many people understand. He creates an edge and becomes a different person as he gets locked in. It's fascinating. He's got that look in his eye tonight that normal people just don't have.
The look in his eye.
The look in his eye, right? So
That's amazing.
I do feel like that superhero title is handed out all the time, and we talk about it when these quarterbacks are becoming the stars and the reasons why their teams are winning. But I think he has a superhero power that almost like we've never seen before, because he's able to find ways to win consistently. I had a GM text me during the game. Obviously wasn't one of those playing in the AFC Championship game. Basically just, I hope we appreciate all of this because he's having fun and he wants to be this great. And it's easy to take it for granted, and it's easy to get that Chiefs exhaustion. And when we talk about the exhaustion, we talk about them going for the three-peat. I did think it was really interesting how Andy Reid's perspective on it, because remember, I asked him, I said, you're allowing these guys to say we're going for the three-peat. And I just thought that was aggressive, right? Because that can fall, that can slap you in the face at some point, put a target on your back. It could be cocky. Whereas, as you know, most teams you talk to, most players will say, one game at a time. We're worried on the next game. The Chiefs are out here going Super Bowl three-peat. So let's take a listen to how Andy described it when we asked him why he's comfortable letting these guys focus on going for a third straight.
The players have been really bold about the three-peat. I remember walking off the field in Vegas with Travis, and we did the typical, what's going through your mind? How you feeling? He said, we're going for 3, baby. I'm like, three what? What are you talking about? It still hadn't even registered to me that you just won and you're already thinking about the next. So your players, Patrick, obviously all your leaders have been really bold about this being the goal. They're putting it out there. How do you feel about putting out, hey, everyone, we're going for 3?
Yeah, I don't think it's not healthy. I mean, it's a nice goal to put out there. It's hard to get 1.
Yeah.
And so these guys have busted their tail to get 1. They busted their tail to get 2. And so the bottom line is, again, I come back to that training camp thing that grounds you. You have to do this, and this to even think about getting to there. And so they've got to go through the process, and I can take care of that part. And if they keep thinking that we're going to do great things, more power to them.
He knew it then,
I mean,
but
it's amazing.
But he also points out, I think, the takeaway, not just in sport, but in life, it is about the everyday, doing the work. You always hear about how hard their practices are, how hard their training camps are. They never let down. I was thinking about Andy, too, watching that game. And when I used to do pregame reports for ESPN, I used to always give him a hard time in my reports about how impatient he'd be in the run game. I'd always say, well, Andy's not going to run the ball, right? I thought at least in Sunday's game, and even this whole season, he's become a patient play caller. on the ground. And you see it, and it's working. And look, I'm not talking about a run game like Saquon Barkley out there. You know, they're not doing that. They did just enough to make the Bills have to worry about it, right? To make the Bills go, all right, we can't just worry about their weapons. We're going to have to figure out a plan for what's going to happen on the ground.
Yeah, I mean, he's process oriented. I mean, I was with him for 3 years when he first signed there in 2013. I was part of the start of the building of the dynasty, what it is. I mean, we didn't really win anything. We won a couple, we won one playoff game in 3 years there. But he was always focused. And I think that what he said is so true because it is a process. And that process, and I always like to tell people this, like their training camp is in St. Joseph, Missouri. And if you've ever been to St. Joseph, Missouri, there is nothing there whatsoever. It is literally a place for them to escape. You're in dorms on these horrible beds, and it's just a way for 21 to 24 days for you and your team just to get your head on right. Because think about this. You've won back to back, and it's almost like an escape for these guys because all these guys are getting media deals. You're seeing Mahomes and you're seeing Kelsey. You're seeing everyone on these national commercials. It's almost like an escape. It's almost like they can't wait to get there to sort of regroup to go for three. And right now they're going for three. I mean, literally, they've already made history, in my opinion, because there's been 8 teams that have gone back to back. They are the first team ever to even reach the Super Bowl in a quest for number 3. Now, it would be awesome if they win it, but they've already made it. And it's just people like it's so hard to tell people how incredibly not normal this is. People are just like so used to it. Yeah, tell Taylor, like she's back-to-back Super Bowls. I'm like, what are we doing here? Like she gets it. But just the fact that you're able to win as many games as they have and to consistently be great. It's not even like good. It's like week in and week out. For like 60 straight games over a 3-year span, you were great and you were the great. Like people think that they just show. It's really hard to explain to people that have not played the game and don't know what it takes to go in just to one game. And now we're talking about 3 whole seasons for a Super Bowl. Just the mental stamina. I don't think that's talked enough a lot about is the mental stamina of a guy like Patrick Mahomes because week in and week out, these game plans change. And for him to just be up there and just to be the guy who they count on day after day, week after week, year after year, and it's a different game plan every week. You have different protection rules. You got to do so much more around you because you're Pat. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I want to do like another 15 minutes about this, but we've got 2 weeks of prep to discuss this
we have
preview
a lot.
and get into the Kansas City Chiefs. We didn't even touch on Spags. We didn't even touch on his magnificent just blitzing
game
at the right
on the line.
time.
You blitz a corner. I mean, unreal.
But at the same time, if you're the Bills, how do you not see that coming?
How are you an empty? Why are you an empty when you know it's coming?
So let's talk about the Bills then, okay? And we're not going to pile on, but what did you learn about Josh Allen and the Bills after this one? Because what we thought about them going into it, tough, physical. If you remember, my headline last episode was, can the Chiefs offense keep up with the Bills? And guess what the answer is? Yes.
Yeah,
we found out
totally.
what that answer was. So how are you going to remember the Bills of this season?
Great question. First of all, overwhelming success. Like you can't look at this season anything but an utter success in every single facet. No one expected them to do anything in the media. I mean, the only people that thought they were going to do anything was in that locker room, and rightfully so. Like you look at the talent surrounding Josh Allen. It wasn't amazing. I think James Cook right now is a bona fide superstar. Like I think you've got one of the best 3 or 4 backs in the entire league. It is very apparent, not only in the pass game, but in the run game as well. And then you go to the receiver position. I thought they played good enough for the most of the season. But then you just go to Josh Allen. Honestly, how I feel about Josh Allen after this game, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for him. And that's weird. It's like, wait, you're allowed to feel bad for somebody in the media? Dianna, he's playing in the wrong era. Like you're playing in the Patty Mahomes era, and you can do as well as humanly possible, and you can do everything you possibly want with a team that overachieved, because let's call it what it is, they overachieved. But when you get to the big game and you're facing Patty Mahomes, chances are he ain't losing. Like, of course, you're going to get a Burrow in there. And when Brady was still playing, those are the two guys that beat him.
Yep.
Patty doesn't lose. Like, for a fact you're at least got to get all the way to the AFC Championship game to face him. And it's crazy because teams in NFL playoff history, this is a crazy stat. I don't love giving stats. I want to give a stat for context on Josh Allen, okay? First of all, he's won more NFL playoff games without a Super Bowl victory than anyone else in the history of the game. He didn't have a Super Bowl victory, won more NFL playoff games. That's crazy.
5 straight seasons.
And secondly, 5 straight seasons, okay? Teams with 3 total touchdowns on offense or more and 0 turnovers. Their record in the NFL playoffs, okay, is 140 wins and 19 losses. Josh Allen has 3 of those losses. 3 of the 19 losses in 4 seasons to the Chiefs. Like, that just goes to show you he can't get past the Chiefs. And it's so crazy because I had, and I want to be long on this because I want to make sure people understand this. I had our guy at Fox, our research guy, go in and say, hey, how many offensive plays has Josh Allen played this year? It is 1,167 offensive plays that Josh Allen has played. And then of all those plays, including the playoffs, it comes down to 1 or 2 plays in his, really that would switch the trajectory of his career, and it came down to that 4th and 5 play. And we got to talk about it because it's like, hey, do you turn the protection? It's just like one play out of 1,167 plays that you just can't make, even though he makes a crazy play and, why are they in empty? You can do all this stuff. It's just one play. That's how good Patrick Mahomes has been. And to know it, I mean, to be the champs, you got to beat the champs. That's him. So it's just, I feel bad, really, that he's just playing in the wrong era.
Yeah. He's playing the wrong era, but there's also things that I think you have to figure. Brandon, being the general manager, is going to sit with Sean McDermott this offseason to find they're not going to take that answer, right? You can't tell those guys, hey, buddy, you were born in the wrong era, right? They're going to go, no, we're going to find a way. We're going to figure this out. We're going to get another stud offensive weapon, right? They have to. Yep. And we saw that. Look, Amari Cooper, he was fine. He wasn't great. He did not solve their problems for what they were looking for.
Underwhelming, I would say.
Yeah. Not to be too critical of it, but just not as great as we were hoping for. And I don't think as great as I think they were expected to get more. Because at first, remember, he showed some flashes there.
Early, yep, I agree.
So, look, I think it's definitely a tough day for Buffalo to continue to just get knocked down like this. You talk about Patrick's resilience, his discipline, his mental toughness. I am curious to see the version of the Buffalo Bills after this, because if you remember this offseason after what they went through last year, they had some edge. And remember, they fell off everyone's boards for teams that we expected to be playing in the playoffs. No one was talking about Buffalo. And that seemed to be the best space for them, right? Whenever you're doubting them, that's when they play really well. But they're still a pretty young group. I remember even talking to somebody in Buffalo after they played the Ravens in Baltimore, and we were talking about some of the mistakes they made. And he mentioned, he's like, we got a lot of guys staring with big eyeballs right now. They're learning. This is a big stage for them. So I think you have some of that factor in this as well, as they're going to continue to grow. But they got a lot of free agents.
Also, don't you think? Yeah, they do. But don't you think, like, it's almost like a little bit of a helpless feeling if you're the Buffalo Bills, because wouldn't you say this was probably their best year to be able to knock off Patrick Mahomes? You didn't have to face you didn't have to face Burrow, right? Burrow's there, Lamar's Lamar, Patrick's Patrick. I mean, all these massive name quarterbacks who can take their teams to the Super Bowl, and then you get Patrick Mahomes at Patrick Mahomes' worst in terms of statistical success in the season. Almost every single major category statistically this year for Patrick Mahomes is, if not the worst or one of the worst. They weren't scoring a lot of points. Dianna, this was their first game, the Chiefs, that they scored over 30 points the entire year. And you get him. I just think this is one of their best times to get Patrick Mahomes, and they weren't able to do it. Like Mahomes, people forget that he's playing without his number one receiver. Like, and also, Bills, you trade the pick away for Xavier Worthy, and then Chiefs say, "All right, we'll take him," and then Xavier Worthy goes for over 100 yards and touch. Like, that doesn't make so. It just felt like one of their best times to get Patrick Mahomes.
Do you hear what he said in post game too? He's like, they skipped me. Like he is well aware of that and
he's very
made
aware.
it known. So 2 Decembers ago, I think there were some calls from people, Bills Mafia, that thought that maybe it's time for Sean McDermott. Do you think at this point that Sean McDermott is the best coach for the Buffalo Bills, just based on what you've seen?
Wait, is this a thing? Really?
Yeah.
Sean McDermott? I think Sean McDermott's one of the. Who are you? Wow.
No.
Okay, I believe you. I believe you.
I agree. But
No,
I
I believe you. I can't
people-
imagine any. Yeah, go ahead. No, go.
I think you answered it though. The fact that you thought I was joking tells me how you feel. So that's great. And that should be enough for those that are done it. And look, there's some game management things that people question. The big moment games.
Come on.
Are
I would
you
argue
doing
this
enough?
is his best coaching job he's ever done.
Last game we talked about, thought that was the best game plan he's put together all season and how he's prepared them and really gotten the most.
Yeah, I can't imagine a world where that Sean McDermott can be blamed for this. Look at the coaching job he's done. Look at what he's done with that defense with injuries riddled everywhere. Look at what he's entrusted Joe Brady to do with Josh Allen in that offense. It become a run-first offense. Look where it's gotten Josh Allen. The Bills had freaking 8 total turnovers all year long. 8! And they'd still – it's just like, come on. Like, what are we talking about, guys?
Yeah. Well, it was clear after watching that game that if you were to ask me about the game in general right now, I would say that defenses are getting more exotic, right? I think we're seeing that, especially with the play callers that we're seeing in this round. And the reemergence of the run game being so crucial this time of year. And we always talk about it, such like a basic thought in the regular season of postgame. I mean, postseason is all about the run game, but the AFC and NFC championships, to me, told that story. Like, if you didn't know anything about football and you just watch those games, you'd be like, oh, you run the ball a lot. I get it.
Yeah.
That's how you win, you know? So if we're going to talk
It feels like going old school almost again. You know what I mean?
Correct. So if we want to talk run game, then let's just do it. Let's just go to the link. Let's just talk some Eagles and start there with Saquon Barkley.
We have to.
I mean, what the
How happy
heck?
is your husband right now? Be honest.
Oh my God, he's in the best mood, which makes everyone in my house happy, and my extended family. Like, even with me being on the road, we needed some extra help. Everyone's like, sure, because everyone knows that Kevin's in such a good mood. Some people have that ability to kind of control the vibes in rooms. That's Kev. When he's grumpy, everyone's grumpy.
Yeah, my
when
wife.
He's happy, we're all happy. Yeah, I'm not moody, as you know, so I'm like, whatever. But he went to the game, had a blast. Yeah, it was great. I was texting him in the fourth quarter. I'm like, leave now. Which, if you think about it, like, the whole joy of being a fan is to take in the celebration afterwards,
Yeah, you want to
too.
see the ceremony.
Yeah, but I was like, get in the car. Help me with these kids. But obviously, with the Eagles,
Are you one of those wives? Hold on. Are you one of those wives that, like, if their husband's out having a good time, that you text, come back now, like hate texting?
No, ew. I don't even text them.
Okay.
Remember?
All right.
No.
We said this last show.
Yeah, last show. It's funny. He listens to the show too. He's like, I double down on that. Like, I hate when you call me. But no, look, as you know, when you're a parent, you don't get a lot of fun in your life in terms of social. Like, your
so
social life
true.
just takes a hit. So to me, it's like, if he can go and just enjoy himself, just as long as he's functioning the next day. You know what I mean?
That's
Like,
what is he?
I can't deal with the
Did he have
hangover
one too many
next-
pops?
No. So he didn't drink at the game, which that was my one rule. I
Surprising.
was like,
Yeah.
just don't drink. Like, go watch the game, enjoy it with your brothers and your dad. Just be cool. Party at the Super Bowl. But that being said, I like thinking about what we talked about in the summer about the Eagles, because I kept telling you over and over, and I know it was making some headlines at the time, that Howie Roseman not only did a tremendous job with the roster, which I think we've given him tons of credit and everyone will and continue to do it over the next 2 weeks, but he put together this coaching staff, right? He helped Nick Sirianni with this and bringing Vic Fangio in and bringing Kellen Moore in and making sure that the coordinators of the Philadelphia Eagles were the best for this roster, knowing that it was a championship roster. And the talent, they are the most talented team playing right now. It's not even close.
Easily.
They're
Easily.
fastest and strongest, most talented. And that's what it looked like against the Commanders. You know, like you could, within the first quarter, I was like, this is over. They kept fighting, credit to the Commanders. But it was like watching a boxing match where you just knew that the other fighter just was bigger and better. And Saquon Barkley obviously starting the game, his first touch, just immediately set the tone for really what the theme of this team is. Short yardage, short yardage, short yardage, home run hit. Short yardage, home run hit. They're the best in football at that. And that's really what's become the identity of the Philadelphia Eagles. What about you?
Yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I think that, first of all, how in the world, Dan Quinn and Joe Witt Jr., do you talk all this noise, especially Joe, and then the first play of the game, you allow a 60-yard touchdown? Like, come on. You know they're going to give it to Saquon. A couple things to just reiterate what you said, because you took the words out of my mouth. They are easily the most talented football team. They've been the most talented football team all year long, and they finally reached their potential. I say finally. They've been reaching their potential ever since the bye week in 2-2 when Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts sat down and said, hey, the pass game, it ain't working. We're not going to throw the ball 37 times a game. We are going to become a running football team. We are going to play really well-coached, strong defense, which I think Vic Fangio is doing. If you just look at their pursuit angles and you look at how they move as a defense, Vic Fangio does not do a lot on the back end, doesn't pressure a lot, but everyone is moving in tandem. And they got a lot of young pieces there. They got Slay. They got two of the best inside linebackers in the game. And this team is so much more than a lot of people expect, because they were like, oh, look at the receivers. They're just going to throw the ball. Saquon's just going to be an extra piece. Yeah, right. Saquon is the heart and soul of that team. And quite honestly, it's one of the greatest seasons in really any sport that I've seen in a really long time. Just total and utter domination. I thought the offensive line played well.
Yeah, the offensive line, the defensive line, that's really, the Eagles have always been ahead above everyone, ahead above the rest in terms of just having talent, and that's where they built this team really well. But just going back to Saquon real quick, when we spoke to him in the summer, when I still think he was digesting it all, I always felt the tone in our interview was, yeah, I'm happy to move on, but damn, like, they really didn't want me, you know? I want to play a quick clip of him talking about what it was like to be in Philadelphia when he arrived, just knowing that this is going to be a different road.
And then you go into the meeting, you sit in that team meeting, you look, and you're just like, damn, like, there's some ballers on this team. Like, you knew it going against them, and when you're game planning against them, but like you're in that room, and then you're just like, oh no, that's Jalen, that's Lane, that's AJ Brown. Like, you know, you're not. I'm a fan of the game, so seeing all those guys, and it's like, all right, like, you know, this something could be special here, but we gotta make it happen.
Yeah, well, he's going to be the one that makes it happen, but he acknowledged that, holy cow, this roster is talented, and now he's really become probably one of the most beloved Philadelphia athletes. The person that wasn't very beloved this year, especially on this show, was Nick Sirianni, okay? He's the third NFL head coach to advance to multiple Super Bowls in their first 4 years, and the first Super Bowl era head coach to make the playoffs in each of their first 4 career seasons while advancing to multiple Super Bowls. What? Like, how?
What?
So I feel like, should we do this? Should we say, dear Nick Sirianni, we are sorry for calling you a stinky head coach. Love Scoop City.
You can. Go ahead. Let me see what you got.
I mean, that's as eloquent as I could be. I called you stinky. I said you weren't good. I didn't think you were a leader of men. I didn't think you were good at managing games. I didn't think you had emotional intelligence. And you know what? Whatever happened this season, whatever happened after some of those outbursts on the sidelines, some of those bad coaching decisions in some of these games, it has flipped. And credit to him for getting control over this and staying out of the way. He has stayed out of the way. Nick Sirianni, we are sorry. Love Scoop City. Chase
Yeah, I
was
mean,
PS.
you know, that's a
PS,
good
love
for
Chase.
you. Yeah. P.S. Love Chase. Look, I would say that since really the early part of October, he's completely turned around. It's really when he shaved his head. He was like shedding something, shedding bad coaching, shedding bad decision making, shedding whatever. They've been outstanding. And I think that he really probably looked back and said, hey, you know what? I need to be cool, calm, collected. I need to just be who I am. I need to trust my coordinators that we hired to get us in the right plays at the right time and the right defense, and then take points when needed. I think that it was rightful for us to be, hey, after 2-2, there were multiple decisions that were a little bit questionable, but you can't ignore the job he's done in Philadelphia, because you read the stats, third NFL head coach to advance in multiple Super Bowls. Like, he's got them back in the Super Bowl. Those guys love him, and he's doing a really good job right now.
He did say something after the game that I thought of you, because you have watched a lot of Jalen tape, and there's parts of this game that you want him to get better and improve on, and I don't think he made a lot of mistakes and had a lot of flaws in the NFC Championship game. But I just thought it was interesting that Jalen said Sirianni let him out of his straitjacket. What did that mean?
You and everyone else.
Field, practically. What did that mean?
I'm all for loving up and giving credit where credit's due to Jalen Hurts, right? But the two games that he's played really well this season, I think it was a Steelers game where they had the A.J. Brown whole thing, like, oh, you're not getting the ball, and then he balled out. And then really this game, you know, if you remember after the Steelers game, he said, oh, you guys, is that what you want to see? Like, okay, that was uncalled for. Like that, yeah, you played well. Like, you played like uncalled for. And then you say the straitjacket comment. I don't know. I'm not a fan. I know he was tongue in cheek, and I'm not going to say anything else about it but like, look, I don't think that your head coach is holding you back. One, he doesn't call the offense. He's not the offensive coordinator. He has a say in the offense, but it's Kellen Moore. But I was surprised at on the field how good Jalen Hurts' knee looked, because we weren't sure how it was. I thought he moved really, really well, getting in and out of sacks, getting out of the pocket. It didn't hurt him at all. But that straitjacket comment was a little like tongue in cheek, I'm guessing. I don't think it was a shot at Nick Sirianni, but I could have gone without that.
Do you know what the palpable unfair act is? The palpably
I do.
unfair act. Did you know that before the game? Before the NFC Championship game?
I played
Did you know
the
what
NFL
that
for
was?
14 years. Yes, you keep jumping off sides. You keep doing something stupid. If you're close to the goal line, or if you're close somewhere else, the officials can actually award yourself a touchdown.
Yeah. I just can't believe we haven't talked about it during the season, though. Like, we haven't.
It's never really come up.
Yeah. But so I did some digging on it this morning, and I was calling a couple coaches just to see, like, is this something you guys do? I was getting all different names for it. Like, yeah, everyone prepares for this. So you've never been on a team that did that or was penalized for it?
So we took a lot of delay of game penalties. No. You know what it was? I don't think we took a couple delay of game penalties to try and like stretch out the clock, but we would consistently jump off sides to try and stop the clock on defense.
Yeah.
I remember a couple times the ref was like, no more. Like, they called you out for it. Like, that stuff's happened. But we also had the simultaneous catch rule, which I don't know if a lot of people heard that either in the Chiefs game too. So you had two rules, obscure rules. This needs to be a second. Obscure rules with Dianna and Chase. Like the poppable unfair. It's like all that stuff.
Poppable. This is a hard word. Like, I'm very challenged by that one.
Poppable.
But speaking of rules, I feel like I've tried to avoid Twitter during games because I don't want to be affected by other people's thoughts. I want my own original observations. I don't want you specifically seeping in my little brain and
Me?
bothering me. Yes, because you're
Why?
actually, if you guys don't follow, if you're listening to this, I'd like to think you probably follow Chase on Instagram and on Twitter, but you definitely should, because you are a great follow during games because you explain things, you highlight stuff, you make it simple. But I don't want you to do that for me. So I should mute you, actually. I should block you. But I don't. But anyway, so I checked Twitter a lot during the Eagles game because I was getting a little bored. And I just could not believe how many people were talking about banning the tush push.
Oh, so
Like,
stupid.
I've never asked you about that. Where do you fall on that in terms of how you feel about it?
That's a great question. I've never really had an opinion on it because it is a football play. Why aren't you allowed to do it? Like, if you want to ban it, then
Well,
stop it. Like, just
That's how I feel.
what
But
are
there's
we
people
doing?
on the competition committee that have voiced concern about it, that it's an ugly looking play, that it's sloppy, that they don't want the game to look like that aesthetically, which
I mean, okay, but that's why Jalen Hurts has so many rushing touchdowns.
I think
Are they going to really talk about it?
they have in the past. So there was a time, it was last year, I reported actually that Roger Goodell didn't like the tush push. They've come back around on it, and they quickly denied that. No, he's never shared his opinion about it. But I think there was a moment where there were some owners and some people on the competition committee that wanted to see the tush push ban. But I think it became so popular, and they saw the reaction from the NFL world that I think they backed off it. It was like, okay, we'll keep this thing.
So,
But look, we saw the Bills do it. They couldn't.
I have a question. That's what I was going to say. The Bills went 0 for 4 on actual tush pushes, including a big fourth down. The one QB sneak he had was not a tush push because he jumped over and he still fumbled the ball. So technically they were 0 for 4 on tush pushes. The only one that seems that can run these tush pushes is the Eagles. So is it an unfair advantage because other teams are trying it?
Correct. That I actually think because other teams can't do it, it helps the case to keep it. Like, if everyone was able to do it, I'd kind of side with Roger. I'd be like, I get it. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
But the fact that they can't, it makes it unique and special to the Philadelphia Eagles. We'll see if they'll be able to continue to do it, even though we questioned that coming into the season. Remember that I was standing up there yelling that one. Oh, they lost Jason Kelsey. They're never going to be able to do the tush push. Well, I guess they could do the tush push. I guess who was fantastic on the line at the line of scrimmage? Jalen. He was really good.
Jalen. I mean, dude squats like 650 pounds. He better be that good. Like, it's insane. His workouts, crazy.
Just watching him, I think get more confidence in that position, and the guys around him allowing him to lead that. He's just going to continue to grow and get better. Meantime, on the other side of the ball, you had the Commanders' young rookie quarterback who wanted to play and win that game. And no one else was able to step up for him. And I felt for him. Look, Washington's got their guy. I get it. Like, we could talk about this all show about how exciting this is for the Commanders, knowing how much crap they've been through, how this was such a wild season that no one really saw coming. But they've got the most important person on this team here, and that is the quarterback. For you, though, watching him trying to navigate that game against a bigger, stronger, better Eagles team, like, where do you fall on the future of the Commanders now?
Oh, the future's extremely high. You got your franchise quarterback. Like, let's be real. Like, if you have a franchise quarterback, you're going to build a team to the draft. You have a lot of chances to build the team because he's going to be on a rookie contract, at least for the next 2 years, full years. I know they really built the team this year through free agents and really the right guys in terms of locker room guys, but also, like, when they signed Zach Ertz, I guarantee they didn't think he was going to have 8 touchdowns this year. Like, I guarantee you they didn't do that. Like, Bobby Wagner, when they signed him, I guarantee they didn't think he was going to play like he was. So my outlook on the Commanders is very high. I think actually that Jane Daniels played a really good game. He was very cool. He's very calm, collected. That first drive was amazing. Multiple fourth down conversions, multiple third down conversions, but it ended in 3 points. I think they got to score touchdowns. Obviously, like, hey, it doesn't take a really good analyst to figure out what went wrong. Like, it was 4 turnovers. Like, you can't turn the ball over 4 times and then give up a 60-yard run on the first play of the game and give up 55 points and expect a rookie quarterback on the road in his first NFC Championship start to go out there and do it. And here's another thing, too. Just getting to that game, it was a successful season for the Washington Commanders. So I saw a little bit on the field, just like, hey, we're happy to be here. Whereas the Eagles are like, yo, we got to get to the Super Bowl. This is not even remotely a successful season. So I think there's 2 ways of thinking. I think that'll flip this, or not flip, but I think the Commanders will sort of get, hey, we have the talent in this room to make a run, to get there in a tough division. Everything's trending up right now for the Commanders.
I think why I'm encouraged, let's just say Cliff stays, which if I had to guess right now, I think Cliff Kingsbury stays as the offensive coordinator there. the problems aren't on offense. I mean, they can make some improvements, but their offense is defense. They have a defensive-minded head coach.
Yeah.
So at least that could be something that you can be confident about heading into the offseason, that these mistakes, these issues can get cleaned up and can get fixed. And also, Washington has the third most cap space in the league next season, right? So they're going to be able to build up this roster and improve. So I think a lot of the comparisons that we were making on the show a few weeks back was Daniel set up to grow better or worse than CJ Stroud after this season, right? Because we saw CJ take a step back. I look,
Well,
it could happen, but I don't see that. From what we saw this year, this Lamar Jackson 2.0, I don't think this is just going to fade away or he's going to struggle with this next season. I think he's that talented.
I agree with you. I think that that's always the sophomore slump is always the case, right? That has to be planned for it. But I think Jaden has handled it a little bit differently in terms of not only his play on the field, but the way he prepares. I'm not saying CJ doesn't, right? But the way he prepares, I think the offensive line for the Commanders played a lot better down the stretch. I think they're only going to get better. I think that was sort of the undoing a little bit this year, CJ Stroud. And oh, by the way, Bobby Slowick got fired as well after the second year. I don't know if Cliff's going to get fired after the second year. And so it's one of those things where continuity for young rookie quarterbacks is really important.
Yeah. All right. We ripped through all of that. Much more to get to on Scoop City. When we get back, we've got new head coaches in Dallas, Jacksonville, Las Vegas. A lot of wild things were said. We're going to break it down next. We'll be right back. All right, Chase, the coaching cycle is just about wrapping up. We're waiting for the New Orleans Saints to make their final hire. They interviewed Dolphins defensive coordinator Anthony Weaver last week. They're now on to Kellen Moore, the Eagles offensive coordinator. They're going to fly to him, obviously, because Kellen Moore's got a lot on his plate as he's preparing for a Super Bowl. So we'll see what the Saints decide to do. But in the meantime, over the last few days, tons has happened. Let's just start with the Dallas Cowboys, because that's really been the odd one in all of this that we couldn't figure out because we didn't know what Jerry wanted to do. Well, it turns out Jerry didn't want to really go that crazy, or he did go crazy, depending on how you look at it. According to him, well, he thinks he went a little crazy based on how he thought about it. But Brian Schottenheimer, who is the offensive coordinator, has been in the league for years, has now been named the head coach of Dallas. So I thought Jerry had a really interesting take on why he went with Brian Schottenheimer, also knowing that fans did not like this. This was not a hire. Like, if I'm Brian Schottenheimer, I am not opening Twitter for a while. And look, that'll all change, right? Like, he wins a few games, no one cares. But for right now, like, this was not great PR. In fact, you know how I knew it wasn't going to be great PR? Because they dropped it on Friday night. If you're going to put out the news about a new head coach, you're dropping that Sunday morning on, all the pregame shows. They just, slipped it out on Friday. So let's take a listen to how Jerry explains his hire.
Now, I get my proverbial ass kicked over needing people in my comfort zone. Without this thing being about me in any way, if you don't think I can't operate out of my comfort zone, you're so wrong. It's unbelievable. This is as big a risk as you could take. As big a risk as you could take. No head coaching experience.
Why is he taking the risk then?
Well, he also went on to say, yes to some, and it might be couched as a less than glamorous hire. What I would say to fans is I got here taking shots and not shoddy shots.
What? What does that mean?
I don't think he meant shoddy as a shot. Obviously,
I think he did.
All this is weird, too much words. I don't know what he's trying to say. He sounds defensive.
He sounds really defensive. People hate. I imagine that he hates when people are calling him out. But that's a little bit. I mean, let's be real, Dianna. In your professional opinion, if you were a Dallas Cowboys fan, how would you feel about this hire?
I would be frustrated that he wasn't more aggressive earlier.
It feels lazy,
with Brian
right?
Schottenheimer being the choice now, based on what was out there, what was left. It just seemed like they never had a plan from when they decided that it wasn't going to work with Mike McCarthy to where we're at now. I don't think Jerry Jones knew he'd be in this position the last week of January. Just going with the offensive coordinator of the fired head coach. Has it ever been
when you
done,
put it
by
like
the
that way? When you put it like that way, it's I can't. That's funny.
Matt Eberflus is going to be the defensive coordinator.
Great hire.
So-
I think that's a great
hire. He was very good when he was in Dallas. But I just think if I'm a Dallas Cowboys fan, I have a lot of nervous energy that the owner is now making decisions that aren't great. I've always thought Jerry made good decisions. He's not perfect, right? He's got his flaws, but I've always had belief and confidence in his vision and what he was trying to do. And I'm worried that may not be the case anymore, that he's lost that grip. And that's what he was addressing, because he doesn't like to be told that he's lost his fastball. He does not want to be told that he's not the same businessman Jerry Jones used to be. So what do you know about Schotty? What do you think we're going to be able to at least see from Dallas in terms of offense? Dak's comfortable with him, so I think that's great. That's where probably when I get asked about it, I'm like, well, I'm always for the quarterback liking the person that's coaching them. Like, I'm going to go for that to start with because he's the most important part of this team right now.
It seems a little bit like a lazy hire, like you were saying. I mean, you didn't say the word lazy, I did. But it felt like he was sort of caught with his pants down a little bit when they didn't agree to extend the years and Mike McCarthy. And he's like, oh, man, I got a late start. My question is just like, why wouldn't you bring Kellen Moore in for another interview? I don't know. So I actually I didn't know what to think of Brian Schottenheimer when he got hired, because I know he's been a lot of different places offensive coordinator wise, and I think he does actually a pretty decent job calling plays. So I asked Drew Brees, because Drew, if you remember, Brian Schottenheimer was his quarterback coach for the San Diego Chargers. And the first thing that came out of Drew's mouth was, and I'm reading a text from him, shout out Drew. He said, I love him. He's a great coach and he's a great communicator. Thought he's done really well with multiple play caller in multiple places. And I said, okay, that's good because you've been with him, but how will he be as a head coach? And he just brought him, I'm not going to say verbatim what he said, but he said that. No, he actually sent back like a paragraph, and I don't want to just out him and everything he said, but pretty much the rapport between him and Dak, I think, is what, in some of the team leaders, I think what really pushed him toward that job. Like, hey, we don't want to make a rash hire. We don't want to do this. Okay, he's got a rapport with the team leaders. Dak absolutely loves him. Let's just see how. And honestly, like Jerry Jones, if they make the playoffs next year or whatever they do, we could be looking like fools. So I don't want to like crap on the hire, but at the same time, if I'm a fan, which I'm not, of the Dallas Cowboys, I grew up in the Dallas area my entire life. My whole family's fans. It's just sort of a lazy hire, if that makes sense.
I wonder if they're going to look back and regret not getting Dion. We were a pro Dion show. I think we both were enticed by that. I was, based on what was out there at the time. I just always, look, a lot would have come with it, but.
And I think that's why Jerry didn't do it, right? Because I think Jerry, I mean, I act like I know him. I think what Jerry wants is I know what Jerry wants is control. And with Dion, I don't think if Dion's a head coach, Dion's going to let the stuff happen that's been going on there for 35 years since the last head coaching hire they got right with Barry Switzer and Jimmy Johnson. You know, so I'm actually sort of glad Dion didn't touch it, because I feel like it's a little bit of a lose-lose for Dion, because if he doesn't get to do it his way, then his reputation may get tarnished there depending on how it all goes down, all that stuff. So I'm actually glad on this side that he stayed away from it.
Well, the Jacksonville Jaguars introduced Liam Coen as their new head coach on Monday afternoon. He walked into the lobby, no claps. He just walked around, introduced himself. They videoed all of it. I was like, all right, I'm already a fan. I already love the Jags.
I
no
haven't
clapping.
seen that one yet. You're a hater.
I'm such a hater. But I think it sets the right tone of we have a lot of work to do and a lot to prove. And the Liam Coen story broke after our show last week. And I know I was texting you all the details, and I learned a lot more over the weekend about what really went down there. And look, if you don't know this yet, it was probably one of the more bizarre coaching situations. And I still don't know whose side I'm on in this, because I could see it from both, right? So we know that he was the offensive coordinator for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He had taken an interview to be the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Tampa Bay Bucks were in support of that. They were like, go get the experience, go take a head coach interview just to see what that process is like. Because that is something, side note, that I hear a lot from others, from assistant coaches that have interviewed for head coaching jobs. So much of it is about experience, because I can tell you, when I've spoken to owners, there have been examples of coaches that they've spoken to me about who I think are tremendous play callers and great, we'll call it football people, but they stink in a room. They're not good presenters, and it hurts them, right? That doesn't necessarily mean that they shouldn't be head coaches. They're just not good talking in a presentation over Zoom or even in person. So we could probably discuss how that probably doesn't translate to being a good head coach. But I do think some people have ways around that and some flaws to it. So either way, so the point is, Tampa is like, go do it. Go learn. Get the experience. Now, keep in mind, I really think if Tampa didn't make the playoffs, there was going to be a move there. I think there was definitely going to be something with Todd Bowles. I don't know if it would have meant parting of ways, a firing, or retirement.
Really?
I think there was going to be something in play.
Even though back-to-back seasons, oh, well, I guess, yeah, you're saying if he didn't make the playoffs. Gotcha.
Yeah. So, and with Liam being there, he's the guy, right? Baker loves him. They love him. Like, it's worked really, really well this year, and I know the organization thinks highly of him. Again, we don't know if that would have happened, but you have to figure it was probably something that was discussed when they weren't winning, or at least when if it appeared that they weren't going to win, but then they did. All right, so back to this. So then Liam takes the interview, comes back. They start talking about how he's going to probably be a real candidate. So he's like, look, I'll stay here, but I want some more money. So they bump him up. They make him the highest paid offensive coordinator. He agrees to it verbally. Sure, cool. Come in tomorrow. I'll sign the paperwork. Well, second interview comes in. The thing with the offer, though, it was, here's your offer to be the highest paid offensive coordinator. You've agreed to it, but you can't go interview anywhere else. You're done. Like, you got your little first time experience. It's over. You have to stay here. And so he kept it a secret, because once the Jags fired Trent Baalke, it changed the game for him. On top of the fact that Shad Khan reached out to his people and said, I will pay you Ben Johnson money and I will give you power. Just come here. Just come here. He said what he needed to say, and he got on that plane. So Liam Coen went to Jacksonville, spent the day there. The team was able to get by the Rooney Rule. When I say get by, meaning they were able to at least check the boxes to get that done, because they had interviewed 2 minority candidates at that point by the time Liam Coen got to the building, and they made him the offer. And he took the deal.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yep, is getting paid a lot of money.
Like, you're glossing over this. You're glossing over this like it's not some crazy.
Well, I'm glossing
when was the last time you heard
over it
anything like
because
this?
I've never heard anything. And they were, the Bucks were
Right?
so mad. But I also see it from
Yeah, how about
Liam's
the Bucks?
perspective,
Like,
right?
yeah.
How many times have we seen coaches be the bells of the ball, and then the next year their team loses, and you never hear that coach's name again? Bobby Slowick was getting head coaching interviews, and he was fired. Lou Anarumo was the hottest name in football. Lou's the Colts DC now. Like, things change quick. So from the perspective of the coach, I get it. But I also see from Tampa Bay, and I think bottom line, no one's coming out of this a winner. Everyone will forgive and forget at some point here. Liam's the head coach now. He's going to be focused on that. The Tampa Bay Bucks will figure out what they want to do at offensive coordinator. They're going through that interview process right now. Baker Mayfield is going to go on to another offensive coordinator since Baker Mayfield's been in the league. Ready? Todd Haley with Freddie Kitchens, Todd Monken, Alex Van Pelt, Ben McAdoo, Dave Canales, Liam Coen, and now another one. So he'll be working with his 8th offensive coordinator in 8 seasons.
Oh my gosh.
So you talk about Dallas and Dak being comfortable with Shoddy. Poor Baker's like, can someone return? Is it me?
Baker's like
Is
the
it
key
me?
to getting offensive coordinators head coaching jobs. Look at his last 2. I mean, 2 for 2. Let's go. But I don't know how you can't.
What would you do?
I guess
you were a great
if you're-
businessman. What would you do?
Yeah. Oh my God. This isn't even a question. And this is what I'm talking about. Like, how can you not side with Liam? Like, there's 32 jobs in the world and you're up for one and you're getting recruited by the owner himself that says, I will give you Ben Johnson money, which for people that don't know is between 12 and 13, at least that's what I think, over 5 years. That's a lot of money. And by the way, if you didn't know, coaching contracts are guaranteed. It just set them up for life. Like I get the back and forth a little bit.
I can tell you that his contract landed at 5 years, around 10 to 11 million. That's a lot for a first-time head coach.
Which $50 million?
$50 million.
Like you only get and to be able to have the power, and oh, by the way, you get to pick your GM, means you get the control of the 53. It ain't even close. Like, I'm sorry, like Tampa Bay Bucks fans, you're mad. And yeah, he was going to be the highest paid offensive coordinator in NFL history, but get over it. Be happy for the man.
Let's wrap up this coaching cycle. We've got the Raiders hiring Pete Carroll. And we talked a lot about Tom Brady's influence in Las Vegas since he became the minority owner. Mark Davis doing a really good job as an owner, listening to Tom Brady, trying to get some of his thoughts, his ideas, how he wants this Raiders organization to look, what direction they want it to go in. And they had those conversations with Ben Johnson. We know what Ben Johnson ultimately decided, which was to go to the Chicago Bears. Even though Brady was very convincing, I heard. They never got to the stage where like an offer was made or, they were talking contract at all. It was just, the Raiders went from being a team that wasn't even on Ben Johnson's radar to then being on it because of Tom Brady. So the Tom Brady effect is real and it's good. So now they go with Pete Carroll, 73-year-old Pete Carroll. He'll be the oldest NFL coach when he's on the sideline in September. The oldest NFL coach to coach in an NFL game. But we know Pete, like everyone that has watched football probably can't even guess his age because he's got such a youthfulness to him. What do you make of this decision?
I don't mind it. It's a fallback plan. Obviously, they were all in on Ben Johnson, at least like what I thought from, I don't know anything insider-wise, but it seems like they wanted to hire Ben Johnson as the head coach. And for a fallback plan, it's pretty good. Because one, I think Pete Carroll still has his fastball. Two, do we forget that everyone's like, he's so old. He's 73. First of all, he don't look like it. Second of all, he still throws a spiral. Third of all, did we forget that Tom Brady and John Spytek, who was on the staff in Tampa, that they won a Super Bowl with a 68-year-old head coach coming out of retirement? Did we forget about that? Like in Bruce Arians. So why do you think
we did
Brady's
forget
doing
about
that?
it? We did. I think it's a really good point, right? So
I
the
didn't.
the GM now with Las Vegas has that connection to Tom Brady as well as knowing him from Michigan. So there's comfort there. There's an understanding of what they want this to be and what they want this to look like. And it's a roster that needs a lot of work. I mean, obviously, they've got Brock Bowers. They've got Max Crosby. Those are their stars, but they need to get a quarterback. And I agree with you on it's almost like a short-term plan, if I had to guess.
It has
Unless
to be.
If Pete does
right?
great, then awesome, right? Like if he,
Yeah, but how much longer can he coach? Like it seems like a 3-year, 2-year fix. And he's a leadership guy. He's a culture guy.
Yeah,
they need that.
He's going to come clean it up, straighten it out, get it on its feet, and then we'll see where it goes.
Two things for you. One, who the heck is going to be the offensive coordinator? Because that's what matters in this. And two, Russell Wilson comes directly to my mind. Is that an option?
So let's start with, let's actually quickly talk about the Steelers. So Art Rooney spoke to the media on Monday afternoon just about the direction of where the Steelers want to go at quarterback. And he was asked directly about Justin Fields and Russell Wilson. And he had said that the plan is probably to just keep one of them. If I had to guess, the person that they're going to keep is Justin Fields. I think
because of Arthur Smith, right? That's not surprising. I feel like that surprised some people, but that's not surprising to me and you. I don't know. It's weird.
Well, I think you and I saw
Maybe
something
you.
in
Maybe me not.
what. Wait, why is that so clear to you?
Well,
Well, you always thought that
because
Arthur
down the
Smith and
stretch-
Russell Wilson had a problem. You kind of felt it, right? Or you observed that?
I don't think that they necessarily, Arthur Smith and Russell Wilson, had a problem. Maybe they did. I don't know if I thought that. More so, I thought that Arthur Smith liked calling a game for Justin Fields better because he could bring more in the QB run game. He was 4-2 as a starter. And I think Russell lost his last 6 games. So it wouldn't surprise me, I guess, if they stuck with Justin Fields and let him have a chance because that QB run game, bring in another veteran. But I don't know. I don't know when you said that. I was like, oh, it's not surprising.
Okay, but do you think Russell Wilson is a good piece to add to an organization that's trying to really go through a makeover, really change? And look, I want to believe that Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson have cleared up maybe some of the issues that we've heard coming out of Seattle. They obviously had tons of experience with one another, so that's a check in the positive box for me. I just don't know if he's the right fit for a Raiders team built the way that it is with those personalities. Look, they need a good veteran, but I'm just not sure. I would be surprised.
It could be almost like too upside downing the culture if you bring both Pete Carroll and Russell Wilson, which are really high. You know what I mean? It's like
kind of a good
almost
way to look at
too
it,
much.
Too
like
much.
1 is good, 2's probably too bad.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so we'll see where they land at offensive coordinator. The Tampa Bay Bucks are also looking at an OC. Clint Kubiak was hired in Seattle.
That's a good one.
There's an offensive coach named Grant Udinsky in Minnesota. He's the quarterback's coach. He's a tight ends coach. And he's essentially Kevin O'Connell's right-hand man. And I've heard nothing but incredible things about this guy. And he interviewed with the Tampa Bay Bucks. So that's the name I'm watching. I'm watching Brian Johnson out of Washington. If you remember, Brian Johnson was the offensive coordinator in Philadelphia.
Wow.
So those are some names that I'm
No
hearing
Bobby
about.
Slowick
So
anywhere. Just dead to the
I
waters.
have not seen Bobby Slowick's name anywhere. I heard Chip Kelly's
talked about
name
him
floating
3
around a
times.
little bit, right? Because the
Chip?
Houston Texans, the Houston
man.
Texans are looking everywhere at offensive coordinator. So a lot of OCs. So Chase, don't leave the show. Thank you. In case you get some crazy Ben
Won't
Johnson
be
like
an OC,
money.
that's for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm
let's
definitely
talk
leaving the
about.
show if I get Ben Johnson money, just so you know.
Wait, if you get Ben Johnson kind of money, you're leaving the show?
Of course.
I'm going to talk to somebody about that.
We'll bring you on as the insider
Chief of-
for whatever
No,
team
just
I'm
make me
on.
chief of staff. I have asked a lot of different teams to hire me,
I'm good with that.
and nobody takes me seriously. I'm going to change that.
Why?
That's what I'm going to do with the Senior Bowl here. I'm just going to get in the ears of all these GMs and be like, you know what you need? A chief of staff. What the heck would
of
I do?
staff.
Could you imagine? Like, what would
You
my
be the chief
job
of
be?
staff. Whatever chief of staffs do.
Yeah,
They
just
they
walk around
staff
and yell at
they
people.
chief
Do
the
this!
staffs. Yeah. Do that.
Just make meatballs for
Roll
everybody.
with an iron fist. Yeah. Meatballs, mom. Meatballs, mom.
You always say meatballs like almost like a British person. No, like a German person. You sound German when you say it. It's like it's so not Italian. All right. So the New York Jets, we've seen some weird press conferences in the past from head coaches. Shout out Adam Gase.
Adam Gase.
But Aaron Glenn today, he won me. I want to play a clip from the press conference today of just listen to this guy's vibe, his tone, his attitude.
To any players that's here now, put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Put your seatbelts on and get ready for the ride. Listen, there are going to be some challenges, but with challenges becomes opportunity, gets opportunity. But here's what I do know. We're the freaking New York Jets, so we're built for this shit.
Well, they better fasten their seatbelts because they're the New York Jets and they've got a lot of decisions to make, right? You've got the Aaron Rodgers factor. You've got tons of roster moves you got to make here. I am really looking forward to seeing what they decide to do. If you were Aaron Glenn, are you keeping Aaron Rodgers on this team?
We talked about it last show. Absolutely not. It's going to undermine his ability to be a head coach. And I understand they still need somebody to actually play the position of quarterback.
That's the problem. They need somebody.
That's the problem. But like, what do you weigh more? Do you weigh like the leadership perspective of Aaron Rodgers, or do you weigh like, we know it's going to be a rebuild? Are there any other veterans out there that we trust? Because Rodgers played like top 12 quarterback in just pure numbers. I know the wins weren't there. So I would say no, if you're asking me.
Well, Glenn said that this was the only job he wanted, that even though he was getting interests from other teams, including the New England Patriots, remember he turned them down, the New Orleans Saints, he never even made it to that interview in person. So this is where he wanted to be. Obviously played for the Jets almost over 30 years ago. So we'll see. I think we are all tiptoeing around the question we have, which is, how is Woody Johnson going to make this work? And is he going to stay out of the way and let these guys not only coach and manage, but also deal with the fact that there's going to be a learning curve, right? These guys, this is the first time they're both doing this in the big chairs. And it may take some time and some patience from Woody Johnson. So we'll see if he'll be able to do that. I'm going to see some Jets people here down at the Senior Bowl, which is going down here in Mobile, Alabama. You ever playing this? Were you ever invited to the Senior Bowl?
I wasn't good enough. I was an East-West Shrine guy.
East-West Shrine guy. How'd that go? What's that like? Because I'm out there with the players. I talk to them after these practices, and they're so young. They're so young. And
you're just getting older, and they're staying the same age.
I know. You're probably right. I know. I used to say that about coaches. Coaches used to be so old to me. Now they're all younger than me. I'm like, when did this happen? Like Sean McVay's birthday was the other day. He's not
it's
even
a hectic
40.
week. He's not 40. He's not 40. That's crazy. It's a hectic week though. A lot of tightness from the players, I guess you could put it.
You're just like
they're trying to do everything
nervousness.
they can to get noticed. Nervous, anxiety. But the thing is, and I would tell these guys, I think it's such a crock of crap. I'm not going to cuss on this show. I think it's such a crock of crap because, first of all, these players, I understand you're wanting to make a good first impression, and most of it's just for interviews to talk to the guys and see what they're at. They're not going to judge you on a couple days in Mobile, Alabama. Go look at the film. I think it's just so overrated, and I love the Reese's Senior Bowl. I think it's great. I think the practices matter more so than the game, and I think the meetings matter a little bit. But guys. My advice to college prospects: just be yourself. Don't overthink it. Just be you.
Yeah, I do think the in-person access is huge. I think this is where you're finding so much out about who these people are. It's essentially dating, all right? You're just getting to know each other, getting to understand their habits, see what they're like. I know a lot of coaches and GMs, scouts, head of player personnel, they're all here to do that. And a lot of conversations outside of that happened here. If you saw in Hard Knocks, remember, this is where the Panthers and the Giants discussed some trades, remember? A lot of business gets done here. A lot of chatter.
What do you do down there? What's your week like? Take us inside an insider's week.
An insider's
quickly.
A lot of agents here, right? So I try to catch up with them, introduce myself for the ones I don't know, the ones I do know, just kind of reignite our conversations that we probably had a week ago over text. So it's just always great to be boots on the ground, see people in person. I'm curious to see if the coaching staffs from the teams that were knocked out over the weekend, if they'll be here. Kind of feel bad for them. I'd love to catch up with some guys from the Commanders, from the Bills, kind of see what direction they're going to go in. But you have free agency coming up in 2 months now. So you have a lot of that starting to happen in terms of just people talking about where they want to go, what they're looking for, what guys are looking for, agents talking about their players. So this is one of those trips where it probably seems very boring to you, but for what I do, it's just great to talk and find out some more information so then I can come back and Scoop City
the
and tell you
calendar's
guys all
never
the time.
ending. The
Calendar's never.
The calendar's
oh, I
never
love. This
ending.
is always my favorite time of year. People are like, "Oh, football's over. You go on vacation, right?" It's like
It's your busiest time,
I'm
right?
like, this is the worst time. My
Yeah,
life
it's
you
your
should see the
busiest time.
calendar in my
Yeah.
kitchen. It's all red. Red means see you later, kids. It's travel, 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 travel. But yeah, no, this is always one of my favorite trips, just because everyone's pretty laid back. You know, it's chill. Everyone, you get to catch up, talk a little ball, talk a little business, and have some good barbecue. So, all right, that'll do it for us here on Scoop City. We will see you guys later this week.
Bye, guys. Tag me next time.
Thanks for tuning into Scoop City. If you want to hear more, make sure you like and subscribe. We drop our new episodes every Tuesday and Friday.